Hey guys, this is Rocking 3 and I'm doing a couple things right now. I am getting ready to set up my first B-Class car from scratch, and I'm also setting up my newly purchased XSplit to broadcast through YouTube. So it's kind of a test on both ends right now, and I'm actually trying to send a tweet out saying that I've started doing this, and just trying to figure it out. Hey guys, so I'll be just a second. And I'm doing a couple things right now. I am getting ready to set up my first B-Class car from scratch, and I'm also setting up my newly purchased XSplit to broadcast through YouTube. So it's kind of a test on both ends right now. Alright, I'm actually trying to send a tweet out saying that I've started doing this, and just trying to figure it out. Hey guys, so I'll be just a second. And I'm doing a couple things right now. I am getting ready to set up my first B-Class car from scratch. Alrighty, so we've announced that to Twitter. And that's what I do there. And it looks like we're live on the website with just a little bit of a delay on the sound, so that's good. And I'm just closing everything up. Alright. So what I want to do first is show you what I want to do today is basically show you how I go about setting up a car from scratch. And some of it's based off of calculations, some of it's based off of starting points, some of it's based off of hunches of the type of car that we're going to be driving. So first of all, I went out and I researched all of the cars that were basically leaderboard monsters for each track. Kind of did like a top 2 or 3 for each track. That way I understand how to build the cars out. If it's a small track, it's going to be a turning car. If it's a long track, it's going to be a speed car. And then I put them all out into a spreadsheet, and I try to figure out what I want to run. So one of my favorite tracks is the Alps Festival. And as I'm looking through the list, the Moneyman 300 and I put together, I put some out there, he put some out there, and we're building out a list of cars that we want to build for being competitive in B-Class. So that is what I'm looking at right now. Just checking my messages there. So it looks like we want to build out a Mercedes 190E. Must be a really high level car in B-Class. So I'm going to go out here and I'm going to buy it from scratch. Let's see, I probably should have done that by make. There we go. Alright, so Mercedes-Benz 190E, which is this one. I'm going to go ahead and give this a quick purchase. So one thing that I can tell you is that my 190E is actually a pretty good car in B-Class. So since I already have something that's similar to it, we're going to borrow a little bit from it. But we're not going to do that right away until I really feel the need to steal some information from it. At this point, I don't think it's going to be too far-fetched to run this from scratch. So let's see what we have here. I do want to come with something basic here. I mean, definitely like the designs, but I don't want to get too wacky with it. And I would plan on this video taking probably near an hour. I don't know what it's going to be. I'm sure by the time you guys get to it, you guys can tell how long it actually is. That was actually kind of pretty. Alright, I'm making this way too difficult. And yes, it's too difficult. So we're just going to grab this black one here. No big deal. Alright, 28,000 credits. Nothing too bad there. So the one thing that I want to do first
This is your 1990
And this is a B-Class car.
190E 2.5
Or this actually starts,
Evolution
I think, in
2.
D-Class, actually. So this isn't going to be any kind of huge car here. So we're going to go first to, let's just go drive it. Let's go to Rivals. And, you know, I didn't see what class it starts in, so let's go to Upgrade. Pretty sure it starts in C, really low C. Alright, so we're going to the C class. Check my message here real quick. Thanks, man. Alright, so back to where we were at. Alright, so it's a C-Class car. I keep saying D-Class, but it's actually a C-Class car. So what I want to do first is I want to go to C-Class, and I'm going to be doing this for the festival track. And I'm going to have absolutely no chance of beating anything I race it anyway. I think I have a top 50 or 60 time on this track in C-Class, so we're not going to be anywhere close. But what I'm really trying to do is I'm just trying to get a little bit of a run to see how fast it is, to see how it handles, how stable, how tall, see if it bottoms out on anything. Looking for a few things right now. Granted, this is a long ways from being a B-Class, top B-Class car. Get the same message maybe. Alright, let's see what's going on here. So a few things I'm doing is I'm looking for the gear ratios too, and you see how much the car is just leaning out right now. It actually turns pretty well. Now, I mean, granted, this car is pretty slow, and I seem to have traction control on, which is not going to help me get a good read on this car. Right now what I can tell is that it's really soft. You can see the car kind of waggles a little bit, and it is pretty slow right out of the box here. Gonna get an idea of what kind of transmission, how many speeds it has. And I'm trying to shift to 6, and there's no 6 gear, so that's good to know. To be honest, this doesn't handle very bad. I don't see the traction control kicking on a lot. I could definitely tell if we had a lot more horsepower to it. This actually isn't the track I was hoping for. I want the one without the tunnel. I think that's Stadplatz now that I think about it. Festivals want the tunnel, so I want the other one. But we're just getting a real good top view level here of the car. Alright, so you can see it's really soft. It tail ends a lot. This is a stock spoiler. So this suspension is really, really soft. Now, granted, the height of it's really, really high right now, so we're probably not seeing the actual potential here, and I'm probably not going to bottom out on anything. But I will say overall, this thing does handle pretty nice. Like I said, it's not very fast. I'm going to check the stock brakes out here real quick too. You got to remember everything's stock on this car right now. I'm going to hit this line. And it's not too bad. It did slide out a little bit, so the balance is a little bit off. But that's okay. So as you can see, the stock transmission looks like it would get up into pretty high speeds if it had the horsepower to get there. Alright, that is good enough of a start. We're going to go and hit finish on that. Alright. So you can see the car sits really, really high right there. Just noticing things about the car right off the bat that I definitely want to change out. So I run laps on the Rivals just to get more money. That's what I do. I don't really run in the test phase a whole lot. We'll do that a lot more during this time because I'm 55th on that track, because we definitely want to do things a little more quickly than I typically would. So what I like to do is I like to buy all the race suspension and a lot of the race pieces right off the bat. So we're not going to mess around. We're just going to go straight to that. It's going to raise the PI, but we're going to continue to drive it on the Stadplatz as we go forward. So first of all, I know I'm going to want race brakes because I want to make it adjustable. We're going to get race suspension. We're going to get the race anti-roll bars. Alright, with the B class, I'm pretty sure we're going to end up with the roll cage. At this point, I'm not too concerned about it. I want to see what kind of weight differential there is. So it's about 130 pounds. And then 115. I'm looking at the lateral G's at the bottom there. So we have a 0.01 upgrade on both the 60 and 120 miles an hour. We're going to leave that off for right now. Race reduction, we're going to probably end up getting that full race reduction as well. But again, I'm not worried about that just yet. You can see we get a little bit better lateral movement as well on the lighter. Actually, a lot more with the weight than we did with the roll cage. So that'll be something nice to consider later. We'll go ahead and get, let me see what clutches, which transmissions they have. So we have only 2 PI difference between the race and the non-race. I'll remember that, but let's go ahead and go with the race transmission for right now, since it's fully adjustable. And I want the full race differential. We're going to wait on the tires. I'm going to go ahead and buy the heaviest wheels because I almost always change these out anyway. You see I added 16 pounds of weight with the wheels. We won't do anything with the other part of the wheels yet. We're not going to raise it up any. We're not going to do any of that yet. We're going to go get the race front wing. Now a lot of times I'll take a car and I'll skip some of these steps. And oh, the one on it was adjustable, so we'll go with the adjustable there. But I want to show you from beginning to end what I tend to do. So we're going to start there, and I'm going to look at these numbers just to kind of get an idea of what we can try to do. So this A1 is out of reach for B class. I won't be able to reduce it by 19 PI. So we have 2 possibilities. You get a lot of big bang for your buck on this one because you get 138 horsepower for 74 PI. That is unreal. And actually I do like this engine a lot. The power band there is $4,000 to about 5,500. But those cars work really well. I have a Subaru that has that engine and it does really, really well. So you can see I can get 98 horsepower for 68, 63, 62. Can't do that math. 72 PI. So you don't get quite the ratio on that, but you have a different power band. So now you have the higher horsepower from 5,500 RPMs up to 6, 7, 8, almost 8.5 RPMs. So you have a lot of top end torque there. Let me look at this number here. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 3. So 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 maybe. So that second line, I'm going to say that's probably 300 where that crosses. So it goes 300 to 333. So 300 to 333 in that power band. Now if I look at this one, I have 1, 2, 3. I have almost 400. I'm going to say 375. I'm going to say 375. And then when I go to 5,500 RPMs, it's about 380. Let's see what the top is. Yeah, 373. So let's call that 373 to 373. So I actually get 40 more horsepower through that band. And the other thing I like about this is you can see the torque curve is almost completely above that other one. So for 2 PI, I almost want this engine right there. But we're not quite to that yet. The other thing I like to see is the aspiration change. This is another really good aspiration change. You see for 18 PI, I get 29 horsepower, which is pretty good. And then when you couple this with the turbos here, if I buy that, there'll be a turbo here. You'll see that you can increase it for very little PI again. So it's something to play with a little bit. So let's go ahead and take this back to the track. And I meant to stay in there. Let me look at the tune real quick. I'm going to go ahead and do a couple basic things here. I'm not sure where that's going to fall yet. I'm going to leave that as it is. I'm going to leave that in the middle. I'm going to go ahead and change my brakes. I know I'm going to want to change brakes at some point. And then I'm going to go ahead and change differential. I'm going to lower this down to 50 and 10. This is kind of a starting point, and really kind of depends on the car and the motor that you use. The higher the torque and RPM, the lower those numbers are. So let's go to the Bernese Alps and get this tested out. The Stadplatz. So I won't have a rival this time, but I'm still not to that point yet. What's up, Goose? Alright, so let's give this car a go. So again, we have raced everything, so it's a lot lower. And we still have the same engine, so it's still pretty slow. But I want to really throw this into the turns and see how it does. So now that we have the tires a little bit lower at 29, you can see that they're a little bit softer, and they're going to take a little bit more to heat up. So we're going to heat up the tires here. Now I'm going to just kind of do full turns where I typically would have to do full turns at full speed. So you can see I'm getting some sliding already. So this car's going to go about 180 once I get it done. It brakes a lot better, so I have the brakes pretty close. I feel like I need to increase the brake strength a little bit. So the tires are finally starting to get warmed up. Let's try this hard brake right here and see what happens. Give it a downshift. So not too bad. I just think the brakes are a little bit soft. I'm okay with the balance. Things are a little bit light. So let's go over to the tune-up real quick. Tires are great. Let's go and up this to about 120 to start with. And I'm okay with that balance still right now. So I have another brake line coming up here, and then I'll be able to test it a little bit better. Not too bad. Not too bad. Still getting that back end to kind of spin around. So now that is not aero, so don't think that it's that simple at this point. That aero doesn't really kick in so much at 80 miles an hour. It kicks in definitely at the higher rates, like in this one right here. But we're definitely looking at suspension at this point. Alright. So I'm pretty happy at this point with that part of it. It's a little bit slippery. Let's go back out of here and look at some more parts. We're going to get that more powerful engine, so let's do an engine compare to an engine compare. Since the car handles relatively well, let's I'm looking at this. Yeah, let's go ahead and lower this down a little bit. We're going to apply that, go back out here, and let's grab an engine. First thing I want to do, there's a bug out here. If you don't buy this first, it will not allow you to buy it and equip it later. So I'm going to go ahead and buy that. Let's call that good. But what I'm really after, and I think I'm in a rear-wheel drive right now. Yeah, you can change to all-wheel drive. Not planning on doing that with this car. So first of all, let's do a comparison here. Let's go ahead and grab this first engine. And you see we're still in the C class, which is pretty nice. Now when I buy that engine, I can't do an aspiration swap because that already is a turbo engine. And then if I go over here to the engine, the only thing I have is a restrictor plate. So I can't really do any fine tuning at this point. But you can see I can get another 62 horsepower for 43 more PI, or I can get 124 more horsepower for 80 PI. That is really outstanding. And you can see that power band is still, between $4,000 and drops a little bit more at that 5,500. But the horsepower is really close to it. So let's go give that a test drive. We're still in the C class. I want this one again. I'm going to change my title real quick. Alright. So let's get this puppy fired up. We're going to keep it under 5,500 RPMs. You can see how much I have to shift early. You can see my suspension is not moving that horsepower at all. But that's okay. Let's get an idea of how this is going. I'm already at way too fast on speed for this car. You can see that my RPMs are way above where I want them to be. So let's get this tuned further down now. Lower this a bunch. Let's go take a guess at it. See if we can get this puppy up to 5,500 RPMs right at the bottom of the hill. Right about there's where I want to be. So let's go back to the tune. I'll have to try that again next time around. So what I really want to do is I really want to see the performance difference between the two more powerful engines. Turn my volume down a little bit to get feedback. So my RPMs are still right where I want them to be. Should climb this hill and get right to the top of that. Stay below, so we're okay. Still have good torque. That fifth gear is really good at coming up that hill now. I can't take those turns very well just yet because the gain of the turns. So that's the nice thing about having the gearing the way that I have it, is I could space out 5th and 6th enough, so 6th gear could just literally just take me down this hill. So we can get a good top speed on that. So I saw it, and I see that I'm a little bit too far, so let's go up to like maybe 301 and then get ready to hit the brakes really fast. And too late. It wasn't too late, I just hit it too hard. So we need adjust that paint job real quick on the right side of that car and roll that mirror for extra weight reduction. Let's see what happens here. Unfortunately, I didn't get to carry as much speed over this one as I usually do. Let's see how this gets up to 150 here. And the gear ratio. Not too bad. I'm going to leave it in the lower RPM just so everyone is kind of sliding a ton with the piston slide. This one should run up to the top of 5th. I think it's going to. I'm going to leave this in 4th so I don't lose the back end so bad. You still get plenty. It sounds like the car is slow with this engine because you don't have the high RPMs, but it does a pretty good job. I'd say overall it's a pretty good engine. Alright, so let's take another top speed round up this hill. Pretty happy with that. Yep, real happy. So let's go ahead and after this particular lap, sorry, I was watching that speedo again. So after this lap, let's kind of see what kind of time we can put down, even with this stock settings and everything except for brakes transmission. So this time around, we're going to give it a little. It'll be hard to drive, but see kind of driving habits and how it feels. You know, sometimes different engines are different weights. I like the 6 gear right through here. Yeah, that wasn't too bad. I caught that sort of. Back down 4th. Let's give this an actual real run here. Definitely looks a little bit more. You know, I can stay in 5th right there, 127 miles an hour. So I'm checking the speed at the top of that hill, 127. And now I'm checking at the bottom of this hill. Hopefully I can hit the brakes in time too. So my top speed is 60, 63. And I was a little conservative with the brakes there. But still 163 is not too bad. I'm going to type that up real quick. 127 and 163 at my 2 major points, and then the next one I want to check is So I'm pulling in 5th. So my 2 speeds are in 5th and 5th, and the one at the bottom is in 6th. So 124, 125, 126, 127, right at the top of that hill. We're going to run 3 laps. See if we can get a really good lap in here somewhere. This will actually probably be our new fastest. And then we'll see if we can beat it. Love the horsepower. Not really caring about the clean lap, I'm just trying to kind of generally like the area that I'm going to be in. Check the speed, it should be 127. 127, 128. Give us 163 over here. that really should be stopping. I mean, we are going a lot faster than usual. Let's go 130. And just so you guys know, I don't race with any assist on, although I think right now I still have trash control on, which I'm going to. That's good. We're running. Checking everything's going 27. Got up the hill last time. That's it. Shifting around. We're actually going faster than last lap. We're going off the grass. I felt like I needed anything stronger. Not even looking at my speeds anymore, so I'm messing with my lines. So I'm going to really do that a good lap here. Yeah, I think I'm just going a lot faster because I should be able to carry a lot more speed. But again, this car is not adjusted yet, so when it's all said and done, I should be able to carry about 90 miles an hour. I'll type this out and see. Fastest. What was it? 138.4. 138.4. Alright, so I'm going to type that out as well. And my up speed was 127. So 127, 163, 127 is what we're after. And that is not what you want to do. It's fine. That whole right side needs some body work. Alright, so now the only thing I'm going to change is the engines. So I'm going to go back to this, swap the engine, and I'm going to go to this one. Definitely a way different power band, and we're going to want to crank this car up, so let's go ahead and tune it real quick. Move the gearing back to acceleration. We'll go 40 is fine. We can adjust that here in a second. So let's go back to the test drive. Back to the Stadplatz. And 138.4 was the quickest time I could do with that car. And I'll probably do this engine swap again. Since there's only 2 PI different, I'll probably do the engine swap again later once I get this car tuned up and how I'm going to drive it. So I'm revving it up now. And I actually want to rev it up to 8.5. So we're here a lot more noise. Actually, I think this engine's actually quieter, but I'm going to run it up past the red line. Tires are still cold. So one thing I'm noticing just from the first lap is that this is a lot easier to drive, and I think a lot of it has to do with a lot less torque. Low. So this is just a warm up the tires lap. But I will say this car is a lot easier to drive when it comes back to the torque. Now, once I get to the point where I upgrade the tires, I definitely won't have that same issue with the torque. The tires will have a lot to say on the B-Class cars. As well as braking and everything else. Alright, tires are warm. So let's do about 3 laps. Couple to discover how well we hit the speeds. I'm pretty sure it's going to be less. Almost feels like the car's a little bit lighter too, so I have a feeling this engine overall might be lighter. I didn't really look at it. So here's the first important number. Where do I hit when we get to the tail end of this bumpy side here? 124, so we're 3 miles an hour slower there. I think it was like 160, 163. 163, 158. So we definitely have a speed deficit going here. But we definitely have some handling. I mean, we're definitely handling a lot better than we were before. So overall, due to the torque man, I think we're going to get a faster lap time. However, you know, all that changes when we start putting real numbers on the suspensions too. And we're going to hit 119, 20 on the 21, 22. So we're at a 5 mile an hour deficit there. That's a lot. Sliding around. And brake. Gotta catch it while it's flailing all over the place here. Let's try out these speeds here. 138.4 was the number to beat. Just a little bit on it. Yeah. So let's see if we can do better this lap. We were definitely not hitting the speeds, but we're definitely getting a lot more controllable car in this. So now I need to decide, do I want to have a slower car that may handle better? Or do I want a faster car that's going to be a little more difficult to drive, but have, you know, better acceleration and better top end? And I can tell you right now, I like the faster cars that have a better top end. And once we get them tuned up, we should be able to run pretty consistently. The open should tune this RPMs to be a little bit more acceleration. So I think we have a little bit more to go. Let's give it, let's go 70. Let's see if we can wrap this up thing a little bit more. This is definitely the engine that you want to rev up. Got a good turnaround, so we should have a really good idea what's going to be like up down here. 127 was the mark. Just not hitting those numbers. 122, 123. That is a pretty big deficit that you don't want to be in. Got a little quick on the downshift. I'm trying to hold this one. It's taking a lot of work. Maybe right on that mark again, actually. 38.4. So I was able to beat it this car, but they're really close. So at this point I'm going to favor the more horsepower for 2 PI. But I'm going to see if I can get down this hill now. Did I pop that RPM? Maybe adjust it correctly. Turn it earlier so we can get a little more speed. Yeah, there we go. Let's see what that is. Broke. It's 160, it's pretty close. we're getting pretty close to deciding what we want here. I'm going to look at the engines one more time, and then we're going to go hit the suspensions. Alright, look at the engines one more time. So with this, we can still put an aspiration change on it and gain 54 for 26. So let me look at this. PI. Alright, so these engines, so the one that I have is 138 horsepower for let's see, 70. Alright, let's go back here. So for 74 PI with a lot more torque. Here I get 98 horsepower for, was it more or less? It was less. So for 70, it's got to be 72, right? Yeah, 72 PI. So if I put the two together, 54 horsepower for, that's a 101 for 101 PI. So I can get 152 horsepower for 101 PI, or 138 horsepower for 74 PI. And I'm just going to run quick calculations on that. 152 divided by 101. 1.50. Actually, I want to go the other way. I want to go 101 divided by 152. Be 0.66. And I want to go 74 divided by 138. And that is 0.53. So you definitely want the higher number. Actually, you want the lower number. Let me do this again. 152 divided by 74. You want the lower number. All right, so that's interesting. So you get more PI from this. Did I add that up wrong? You get 138. Oh, okay. So that's right. So you get 152 horsepower for 101 PI. So that one would be this one plus the aspiration change here. So that's the higher number. So what you really do want is you want the lower number. So I'm going to go here and take the 40 horsepower. I'm going to take that engine right there. So once I take that, you can see that I don't have any other options here. So I can't increase that anymore. So we're losing 14 horsepower, but we're gaining 27 PI with that change. So let's see what these cost right here. So that one's close to the number. So I may end up increasing that as well. So let me redo this number as well. So I get 138 horsepower plus 62 horsepower for a total of 74 and 43. So that'll be 117. So back to my calculator. Where did it go? Must have closed it. So back to my calculator, I get 200 horsepower, 417 PI. That is 0.585. So with that number, I'm still between now. So now I've lost some of my PI advantage, and I have 200 horsepower versus 152, but it's still the best ratio. It's between just getting the engine and getting this as well. And if you go even further, that's just crazy. So let's stop right there, and we have a good engine. So now let's go see what we have for tires. I'd like to take this all the way up. I'm concerned about doing that at B class. I think this is more of an A class. So this is kind of a D and C, and this is kind of a B. So let's go middle of the road. Let's go B compound tires. And let's see what happens with these numbers. That's not too bad. That's pretty good numbers there. Let's go back to here. Getting some pretty good numbers out of the tires. I definitely like that width a lot. Don't need this so much, and I think I'm going to go right into the middle. I may deal with those a little bit later, but we're going to go right into the middle with it. So we gained some weight there, but that's okay. Alright, so now I'm not sure what I'm doing with this piece yet. I want to see what the top does here. It takes me into A class. This will take it down a couple. PI actually goes up now. Actually went up in PI. So here's where I do a little bit of cheating at. Now what I want to do is I want to find out what other people are doing. So here's where I go out to leaderboards, and let's go see what they have out there. So let's go to rivals. I want to look at the B class because that is the class that I'm building out here, and it's going to be Stadplatz. And I'm going to go down. So a lot of these top people up here, granted they're really good racers too. I'm not taking anything away from them, but if you look at a lot of their cars, they're definitely putting a lot of horsepower into them and not doing a lot of bit of traction. What I mean by that is they'll put drag tires on their car. Not sure about the higher classes. Maybe they get away from that, but they definitely gain a lot of PI from putting drag slicks on, and I'll show you that when I get back as well. So what I want to do is I want to take maybe about a top 50 person here, and I'm hoping that this means, since they're a couple seconds off the lead, that this will show me what type of setup they have. So let me show you how I do a little bit of research here. Alright, we're going to let him get around the corner here, and then we're going to pause it. I want him to straighten it out, basically, is what I mean. As soon as he gets going straight here, I'm going to pause it. Alright, now we're going to take a photo. Alright, so now that I have this on, what I want to do is I want to check a few things. So one thing, he's got Advan Racing, so he has lighter wheels than I have right now. So I'm going to go and type this out. So I'm going to do Advan Racing, and there might be a couple of these, so I'm going to go ahead and just say 6 spokes, I think is what it has. 6 spokes, just so I can find the weight of it. I'm not necessarily going to use that wheel, but I will figure that out. So here, front wing. There, adjustable rear wing, exhaust tip doesn't tell me anything at this point. I'm going to look at the tire width a little bit. It looks like maybe they did not go full width on the tires. That doesn't look really wide, and the front ones don't either. But I mean, that could still mean that they're the widest. There's only two width adjustments, so that could be the widest that it is. I'm looking through the back window here. You see that it has a roll cage. So I know that it has a roll cage as well. And I'm just going to look around a little bit more, see if there's anything else I can find that's pertinent to what I need to know. One thing that you can tell with the two red pads is this is going to be race brakes. So I know he's going to have race brakes. And doesn't look like he put a different hood on it. I can't tell or not. I'm not sure what my car looks like right now. Might have put a side skirt on, maybe not. But again, I'm just trying to check out the car and to see if there's anything else that I need to know. I know it's down to the lowest level because of the tires. The tires themselves, you can see the sidewalls are kind of blank. And there are 2 levels to that. And then you can see there's little notches around it as well as I try to keep it smooth and not moving. Looks like the inner line is a little bit thicker than the outer line. So now that we have all that in our head and a little bit of it written down, the other thing you can do is you can actually listen to the car. So I'm going to go ahead and play this again. And I'm going to change the camera back to the game cameras. I will say that that does not sound like the engine that I was planning on using, because he revs it up pretty high. Not a lot of short shifts. Listen for turbo blowback. Doesn't appear to be any. Now that I look at those tires, they look really wide. Those are definitely sound like race brakes too. So let's go and exit that. Or race tires, I should say. But we can go back and look at the sidewalls and see what we see out of it. Alright, so back to tunes. And let's just looking something up real quick. Okay, so let's go to the tires real quick because I do want to get an idea what they're using. So you can see the middle ones, how it has those little checker flags. So yeah, he's definitely using those or those. Alright, so let's look at the differences between the tires. So you remember when I said that the inner one was thicker than the outer one? See when you do that one? The race ones that are kind of even, but when you do this one, the inner one's thicker than the other one, so we're going to go with that one, because it really does look like. Alright. So now that we have our tires straightened out, let's go ahead and leave that on there. Pretty sure this was pretty wide, so now I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick look at my car. Yeah, those look about the same. Yep, those look about the same. I'm going to go ahead. Yeah, I'm going to stick with those. Alright, so he went with a lighter wheel, so we'll save those PIs for later. We know that he had a roll cage, so let's go with the roll cage. Went down that time. That's really weird. Okay. And let's look at the weight reduction. So I know I can't go full weight reduction. And it's a pretty good ratio there. And looks like I might be able to fill the extra PI with all of that. So I just need 8 more PI. Can't remember if I did width on the rims or not. I did a little bit of it. Let's go ahead and add the race clutch on there. Let's go and look at the tire rims again. I might increase those a little bit more. All right, we'll go ahead and take those up all the way. Let's just see what kind of reaction we get from it. Should be a little more rigid. All right, so we're good there. So I was gonna go back and adjust this. 599, and I believe I am out of PI, so I don't want to stop it because this one, yep, nothing I can do here. Definitely don't want to reduce that anyway. Alright, so now we can go to at this point all I have left now is a lighter wheel. Let's see what he had. See how much lighter they were. Must have been in the first group. Advan. Yeah, it would have been those. So I'm at 601, so we're really close on the wheels. So I'll go back to my last class here and get a 600 that I like. Maybe. Alright, I like those. Alright, so 8 pounds for the EPI. And, you know, I never did look for the side skirt or anything. I'm not sure if there was anything with that. Oh, no, there wasn't anything. Alright, so we have our PI maxed out. We have our tune still set at stock. Alright, so let's back down. I don't know how that got up there. Which engine am I on? Am I not on the new one? Pretty sure I'm back to the Turbo Blast one. Okay, yeah, so I'm back to that one. So let's change our gearing, and I can't remember what it was at, like 310 or something like that, something really low. So we'll leave those, leaving that. And I do want to, no, I'm going to leave that at 3.3. That's still pretty low. We're going to try those brakes at 130 again, and let's go test drive it. Alright, so now we have our base idea of what the car is going to be like. Now we have our base parts in there. So all we have left now is to adjust the car to what works best. Alright, and clutch and drop. And this is our track control. Alright, base out of it, so it feels like the car's understeering a little bit through just acceleration. A little bit of understeer to fix. Car feels like it's sitting low, or still feels like it's waggling a little bit. I don't think we're going to get away from that with this particular car. So I'm going to carry some more speed, carry more speed yet. love the speed up the hill. You just get so much more speed. I feel like I'm in a pretty good setting for the transmission too. To check the other time real quick. 1:38.4 was the old time. We put down pretty much that lap time with the cold tires. I love this fifth gear, it just rides through. Touch the wall. 27, 28, 29, 30, nice. So this is where it's still really loose. It will let off a little bit. Sometimes slower is faster. I feel like I have the brakes set right now. So I'm not messing about too much. Definitely a lot better with these tires. 132.7. So we cut it down by 5 seconds. A little bit over 5 seconds. Not too bad. Alright, so now that I kind of have an idea what's wrong with the car, let's go start tuning it. Here's what we've all been waiting for. Alright, so I need to actually get out so I can actually see the numbers of this car. I have a little bit of math for everybody to do here. So what I'm looking for is I'm looking for total weight. I'm looking for percentage of weight. So we'll back up here and we'll go right there. Alright, so we have 373 horsepower. We have 3,045 pounds of car. We have 54% of that weight over the front, which is a little higher than we would like it to be. And looks like we have a little small 4-cylinder. Alright, so let's go ahead and start talking tuning. So the first place that I go is I go to the front springs. So what I typically do, and this is just a starting point, so keep that in mind. This takes a little bit of work, a little bit of fine tuning. So what I want to do is I want to take the total weight of the car, 3,045, and I want to divide it by 4.5. So I take 4.5 and that is going to soften up the front quite a bit. So this is going to be the front number. So we're going to take this down to, let me do that math again, to 677. Alright, so there's our 677. So now with all the weight that we have into the front of this car, so we have 54% of the weight of that car, we want to divide that in half. So we have 1,522, and then I want to divide that again. I'm going to divide that 1522, and I want to type this all out too as I'm doing it. And I want to divide that by I want to divide that by 9. So now my number is 170. So what I want to do is I want to add 170 to this front. So I'm back up to 846. So I'm actually stiffer now in the front than I was before. All right, now for a starting point on the rear springs is I want to go ahead and, since I'm again about even, is I want to go 50 pounds less in the rear. This is because it's a front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive car with a front engine. And with that number, what I want to do is I want to go 50 less. This is a good starting point. And because some of the weight is towards the back, I don't have a true calculation for this, but what I want to do is, since there's 4% more in the front, I want to go ahead and lighten this up by about 40 pounds. So there's my starting point for that. On this height, I'm going to leave that at 3.3 because that actually may be a little bit too low, but I'll leave that there for right now until I see myself bottoming out. Alright, so on the rebound stiffness, it was actually pretty close. So this is something that a lot of times I start at 10 and 5 and I work my way from there. But because this rebound part of it was pretty close, I'm going to go ahead and lower the front by 1, and I'm going to increase my starting point by 2. So I'm going to go 9 and 7. So that is just kind of experience of feeling how the car was to start with. My starting points for the bump steerness in the rear always stays the same. I start at 4 and 2, and until I drive that, I actually won't make an adjustment to that. A lot of times this goes lower. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it goes up a little bit. But again, you'll know by how much you lose the back end. If I lose the back end a lot, I'll actually soften both the front and the rear. And if there's a lot of understeer, I also decrease this as well because I want more traction at the beginning. So there we have a start on our springs and our dampener. The anti-roll bars is something that I do kind of a 3/4 and a half rule on this. So a lot of times these anti-roll bars are really close where they needed to be to start with. But what I do for a starting point is I will actually take this and just kind of eyeball a little bit. And I'm going to go 3/4 and half like that. And that's generally a pretty good start for the front engine rear-wheel drive. Alright, so now I have another adjustment that I want to do on the alignment. But what I want to do is I want to drive first. So now that we have that all set up, we're going to go ahead and do a test drive, and let's go see how it feels. So the main thing right now, until I get to the point where I adjust the caster and the toe and all those parts, that one screen, I want to make sure that the car handles first, because this last part really confuses it. It either completely makes it more drivable, makes them really good, or it makes it so that you've messed it up so bad up to that point you can't do anything with it. So right now what I'm doing is I'm pushing it pretty hard, and then I typically wouldn't roll that in third gear like that, but you see that I was able to push that through even with cold tires. Now another good indication is my yellow line just disappeared on me. Dives. So it has a little bit of understeer left into it. So again, this can be fixed with toe and camber. This actually should fix my brakes a little bit too. I'm getting really good responses from that. I'm still braking in a little bit of an odd spot there, so we'll fix that as we go along. except for a little bit of understeer, this car is pretty solid. Pretty happy with it. When you get up to 130 up this hill, we're really happy there too. Yeah, there we go. So this is how it does through these S's. It's a lot more stable. I had to let off there. I don't want to do that. That'll be fixed because right now I have a little bit of understeer. So we touch that wall a little bit. So I want to do one more full lap with the really warmed up tires. I actually put it in the gears I typically put it in, so we put this in fourth. Yeah, see that yellow line used to be solid, now it's kind of dashed a little bit. Make this a little lap. Just a little bit of understeer there. And then 60s, and 64, and 65. I'm going to try to keep this in the 90s. And I broke that a little bit too long. You see I could went through that break point a little bit sooner. That's why I'm trying. Yeah, just a little bit of understeer right there. Flying up this hill. I wanted to get higher. I just don't have enough swing of the car to fourth gear. Just hammer it down. Looking really good. Alright. So again, we're about 6 seconds faster than we were before. So back to this final tune. Alright, so I do not get credit for this. I will not take credit for this. This is something that my friend Moneyman300 found, and he found it in a forum, and I believe it was on the Forza Sportsnet forum, and it worked on a car, and we've kind of transplanted this idea to other front engine cars, and it works really, really well. So what I will tell you that I have learned that even though I default to this 2.1, negative 2.1 and negative 1.8, and this 0.1 and 0.1, this is for stability and this is for turn-in. This number right here depends on where it starts. So this Mercedes is starting at 5.0, and because I've raised these numbers at the top so high, excuse me, I actually have to increase that front caster by 0.5. So if you have everything set up the way you want it to, and your caster's at 4.8, take it up to 5.3. If it's at 5.5, take it up to 6.0. If it's at 6.0, take it up to 6.5. Just remember to always raise that to compensate for the front camber on this. Alright, so we will apply that, and we'll do another quick drive. Oop, wasn't ready for that. So now I've eliminated a lot of that understeer, and actually I might even add another number to that top number, or maybe zero out that bottom toe. Turns in a little bit better, which is good. See the number, I'm assuming we'll pick up the numbers there. Feel like I need to do something that's good. Keep this tight. Drop this down in here. I was lost and it just had a little bit of nudge that I didn't want. That's all it took. Very stable, very easy to drive now. Let's see if we can put a really fast lap on it. I think that trash control is helping me a little bit with that torque. Alright, now that we have everything kind of tuned the way that we want it, I actually want to put a little bit more oversteer into that. So I'm going to look at this alignment and I'm going to just tap that up to a 2. I'm going to leave that there. I'm pretty sure that's going to be fine. So let's really get a baseline on how we're doing. I mean, we've put down 132s, which may or may not be very good. Let's go check out the B class. Alright, so I've actually improved my number. 132.2 is what I ran. So let's go ahead and go see how it compares to the other cars on this track. And I'm not sure if I grabbed the right. Okay, yeah, B class. Alright, just making sure I had the right track, right car. Alright, let's go see how this does. Alright, we're going to leave that assist on. So remember, we're a top 100 car here, so we'd be racing a pretty fast car to begin with. So we need a lap to warm up the tires. That's a really big point of where I need to save some time. I think the rest of this are pretty good from a speed perspective. Nothing diving pretty well. Not seeing at that point where I made a huge difference, but it's definitely helping. Alright, let's go see. So what I really want to compare here is, and I know our lap times are pretty comparable, but what I want to see is how well I'm braking and how fast my car is in comparison to the other car. So the good news is I'm a little bit faster in that straightaway. Unless they turn or something. Move the day on that one. So he handles it a little bit better, so I'm assuming his car is a little bit wider. But as you can tell, our car is just faster. So you can see he carries more speed to the turns. You can tell they're definitely quicker. See if I can get this turn better. Too bad, not too good yet. We're getting there. So what this engine does really well, since he has probably the more handling car, maybe a little bit less horsepower, I actually should climb pretty hard here against him. Since I'm getting in the 130s. I'm catching him a little bit, not as much as I'd like to. But, you know, 5 miles an hour probably isn't that crazy to do. Get out of that turn. So in lap 2, you can see this power that we have right here is the biggest difference. So we beat it right away. Really good. So, I mean, you just witnessed my fastest lap time on this track in the C-Class. Even with that horrible first turn, which I just did again. So I need to brake, I think, down. I'm braking too much. I probably need to brake, hit the gas, or coast, and then brake again. I need to get that first turn down a little bit better. See, it was really close to our last turn. Looks like I can better brake that at the bottom too. I'm going to try to roll with it here. Not too far. Too far around. Just need to pull the brake. See if it gives me my rival back there too. Whoa, we still haven't put the I really jumped on that one. So we really still haven't put it together the time that we did like in the test laps, but let's try a couple more. That's a good try of that. And we got a phone call. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. I had a phone call, but no one's answering. Alright. Run a couple more laps here and we'll call it good. Ooh, there was a turn I wanted. Fine, got that one right. I got my inside turn. This is actually going pretty well. Oh, don't do it. Touch the wall. go left a little bit more here. We won't jump so high. Touching rails. Alright, let's see if we get this turn that we have been doing. Not quite as good, unfortunately. Let's see if we can do that 132.2. I like having this guy right here. See how it portrays against that car. I drove that in real early. Alright. We'll go ahead and call that good right now. So we actually improved our time. And I can't remember what car I ran that with in B class, but it wasn't a Mercedes. For the life of me, I can't think of what car that would be. So, I mean, we did a good job here. Let's see where we ended up. I'm assuming top 70, maybe 60. And that was only with running, you know, 3 or 4 laps there after the warm-up lap. So our final standings was 53. Not too bad. So I'll go and post that out on here on the live feed. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. And hopefully this saves out there so you guys can actually see it. I didn't think about that. Alright, thanks a lot for watching, guys. And we'll catch you later.